I know every sound this building makes, every single one. The pipes in the east wall start ticking around 10:15. Not because of heat. There hasn't been heat in this building since they gutted the old boiler in 2016. They tick because the temperature drops and the copper contracts. Physics, nothing more. The dehumidifier in records room A cycles on at 10:40, runs for 20 minutes, clicks off. I know this because I wrote it down the first week. Trucker habit. 38 years behind the wheel, you log everything. Mileage, fuel stops, weather, hours. You write it down or you forget it. My name is Glenn Harker. I'm 64 years old. I drive a desk now. Well, I sit behind one. The old reception counter at the former Joplin County Hospital, which is now the Jasper County Records Archive, which is a fancy way of saying a building full of filing cabinets that no one visits after 5 p.m. I took this job 7 months ago, night shift, 10 to 6. They asked why I wanted nights, and I said I was used to driving through the dark, and that wasn't entirely a lie. The truth is Margaret died 2 years ago, September, and the house gets loud when it's quiet. I know that doesn't make sense. I mean the kind of quiet that rings in your ears and makes you hear her voice in the kitchen when there's nobody in the kitchen. The hospital, the archive, it hums. The building itself hums, like a truck cab at 65 on a flat stretch of highway. And that hum, that helps. The rain started around 8 tonight. Light drizzle, steady. The kind that settles in and doesn't plan on leaving. I can hear it on the flat roof above the lobby, a soft static that mixes with the dehumidifier, and the pipe ticks and creates this blanket, a sound blanket. My hearing aid whistles a little when it rains. Something about the moisture. Left ear, I lost most of that one to diesel engines back in the 80s. The aid picks up things that aren't there sometimes, or misses things that are. I've learned not to trust it. My first patrol is 10:30, ground floor, both records rooms, check the fire exits, then up to the second floor, rooms B through D. Third and fourth floors are empty, but I still walk them. You walk the whole building, or you don't walk any of it. Then the basement. The basement is where I don't like to be, and I'm not a man who uses that kind of language about buildings. I've slept in truck stops in Arkansas at 2 a.m. I've changed a tire on the shoulder of Route 66 in the middle of Oklahoma in the dead of night with nothing but headlights and coyotes. Buildings don't bother me, but the basement used to be the hospital's working area. Laundry, boiler room, storage, and at the far end of the east corridor, past the old laundry carts that nobody moved, there's a heavy steel door with a small wired glass window. That was the cold storage room. The morgue holding room, if you want to be specific about it, where they kept bodies before the funeral homes came to collect them. I did my 11 p.m. check tonight. Went down the stairs, flashlight on, even though the fluorescents work. They just take a while, and they buzz at a frequency that makes my hearing aid scream. Walked the corridor, checked the boiler room door, locked, checked the laundry area, nothing. Walked to the cold room. The clipboard hangs on a nail to the left of the door. Aluminum backing, metal clip, old intake forms still attached, yellowed blank from when this room had a purpose. I noticed the tally marks my second week, scratched into the metal backing, below the clip, groups of 5 like you'd keep score in a card game. I counted them because that's what I do. I count things. That night the count was 1,841. I asked Dave, the day supervisor, about it. He shrugged, said the building had been a lot of things to a lot of people and he didn't keep track of scratches. I've been checking every shift since. Tonight the count is 1,043. 2 new marks since my last shift on Thursday. Clean lines, deliberate. Someone is making them, and it isn't me. And Dave's people don't go down to the basement. Nobody goes down to the basement except me. I came back upstairs, poured some coffee from my thermos, sat down behind the reception counter, opened my book, a Louis L'Amour I've read twice already. The building hums, the rain falls, the pipes tick, and somewhere below me, someone is keeping count of something I can't explain. I started keeping a log, not because I thought something was wrong, because I needed to prove something was normal. That's the trucker in me. When something doesn't add up, you don't guess. You document it until the numbers tell you what's happening. So I got a little notebook from the dollar store, wrote the date, wrote the count, every shift. October 14th, 1843. October 16th, 843, no change. October 17th, 844, one new mark. October 18th, 844. October 21st, 846. 2 marks added over the weekend, a weekend when the building was locked and no one was inside. I know because I checked the access log. The only badge that scanned in was mine. I showed the notebook to Dave on a Tuesday morning during shift change. He looked at it the way you'd look at a man who tells you he's been timing how long the traffic light stays yellow. Polite, disinterested. He said maybe it was mice scratching the metal. I told him mice don't scratch in groups of 5. He said maybe I should take a weekend off. I didn't take a weekend off. I bought a trail camera, the cheap kind they sell at the farm supply store for watching deer. $40. Infrared, motion activated. I clipped it to a water pipe across from the clipboard, aimed it straight at the cold room door, and set it to record. Left it for 3 days. When I pulled the SD card and loaded it onto my laptop at home, I went through every frame. The camera triggered twice, once for a spider crossing the lens, once for what looked like a shift in the fluorescent light. Neither time did anything approach the clipboard, but on Tuesday at 2:07 a.m., there was a single frame, one frame of static, like the camera blinked. And when I checked the clipboard Wednesday morning, there was a new mark. I put the camera back. Same thing the next week. Static at 2:07, new mark by morning. No figure, no explanation. I almost laughed, sitting in my truck in the parking lot, staring at that footage on my phone. A 64-year-old man with a trail camera in a basement, hunting for whatever's scratching a clipboard. Margaret would have had something to say about that. She always did. But the thing that settled in my gut, the thing I couldn't log away, was the temperature, the cold room, the old morgue holding room. I'd been walking past it for months, and I knew it was cold in there. You could feel it through the door, but I'd never actually measured it because, I don't know. I guess I didn't want to open that door more than I had to. I bought a digital thermometer, the good kind with a probe on a wire. I fed the wire under the door without opening it. 38 degrees. Exactly. I checked it the next night. 38. Friday. 38. The following Tuesday. 38.0. The rest of the basement sits around 55 degrees. The building has no active cooling. The HVAC for the basement level was disconnected in 2015. I found the work order in Records Room B filed under Building Maintenance, Mechanical. Disconnected, capped, no power running to anything below ground level except lights and a few outlets. I drove refrigerated trailers for 12 years. I hauled frozen beef from Dodge City to Memphis. I know what it takes to hold a temperature, and I know that a concrete room in southern Missouri does not hold 38 degrees for 9 years on its own. It doesn't. That's not how buildings work. That's not how cold works. I put it in my log, the number. Every night. 38. Like the marks on the clipboard. Steady, patient, impossible. I told Dave about the temperature. He said old hospitals had good insulation. I said insulation slows heat transfer. It doesn't create cold. He said I should talk to the county facilities manager. I called the county facilities manager. He said he'd send someone out. No one came. The count kept climbing. 1,846, 1,847. The Friday before last, I decided to stay in the basement during my 3 a.m. round, not my 11 p.m. The 3 a.m. I brought a folding chair from the lobby closet and set it in the corridor, 10 feet from the cold room door, facing the clipboard. I turned off my flashlight, sat in the fluorescent buzz, waited. Nothing for 40 minutes, just the lights, the faint drip from somewhere near the laundry, and the rain, distant, muffled, like hearing it through a pillow. Then, at 2:07, I heard it, my right ear, the good one, a soft, deliberate scraping, metal on metal, coming from the direction of the clipboard. I turned on the flashlight. The corridor was empty. The clipboard hung on its nail. I walked over and looked. A new mark, fresh, the curl of aluminum still clinging to the scratch. I didn't go into the cold room that night. I went back the next night. Same chair, same spot. I don't know why. I sat there asking myself that the whole drive-in, why are you doing this, Glenn? What are you going to do if you find something? And I didn't have an answer. I just knew that not knowing was worse. It's always worse. You learn that on the road. The noise you don't investigate is the one that costs you a tire in Tulsa. So I sat, thermos between my knees, flashlight off, the fluorescents humming their thin, sick hum. Rain on the roof 4 stories above me, filtering down through the building like it was being strained through concrete and steel. I watched the clipboard. It hung there the way it always did. Dull aluminum, slight tilt, those rows of scratches running down the backing like someone's private ledger. 1,847 marks. I'd counted them twice that morning. At 1:50 a.m., I noticed the cold. Not the normal cold. Not the 55-degree basement cold that sits on your skin like a damp towel. This was different. This was moving. I could feel it rolling out from under the cold room door like fog you can't see, sliding across the linoleum toward my chair. My breath started to show. Just barely, thin wisps in the fluorescent light. I looked at my thermometer. I'd set the probe against the base of the cold room door. 38, 36, 34. It had never changed. 7 months. Every single reading. 38, and now the number was falling. 31. I stood up. The chair scraped on the floor and the sound was enormous in that silence. My hearing aid squealed, a sharp, thin whine like a dog whistle, and I pulled it out and put it in my shirt pocket because I needed to hear this with whatever I had left. The clipboard moved, not fell, didn't drop off the nail. It shifted, like someone had reached out and straightened it. The bottom edge swung an inch to the left and stopped, and in that tiny motion I heard it, the scraping. Soft, precise, a single line being drawn. I picked up the flashlight with a hand I couldn't keep steady. I walked to the cold room door. The handle was a thick steel bar, industrial, the kind you push down and pull. I wrapped my fingers around it, and the metal was so cold it felt like it was burning, like gripping a frozen hitch in January with no gloves. I pushed down, I pulled. The door opened with a sound like a sigh, a long, low exhale of air that smelled like nothing. Not decay, not chemicals, nothing. The complete absence of smell, which is a thing you don't notice until you notice it, and then it's all you can think about. I shined the flashlight inside. The room was empty. Concrete floor with a drain in the center, steel walls, a single overhead fixture with a dead bulb, nothing on the floor, no debris, no moisture, no sign that anything had been in this room in years. Then I moved the beam to the far wall. The tally marks were everywhere, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, scratched into the paint, into the concrete beneath the paint, into the steel reinforcement plates near the base. Groups of 5, row after row after row, thousands of them, tens of thousands. They covered every surface like someone had been standing in that room for a very long time, counting something with infinite patience. and they had run out of clipboard. They weren't there at 11 p.m. I'd looked into this room during my first patrol. Bare walls, nothing. I backed out. I didn't run. I wanted to, but my legs had that heavy feeling like they were wading through something thick. I pulled the door shut. The handle burned my palm again, and I let go and stood there in the corridor, breathing hard enough to see every exhale. I looked at the clipboard. A new mark, fresh. The tiny curl of metal still attached. 1,848. I went upstairs. I logged my patrol as normal. I poured the last of my coffee and sat behind the reception desk and stared at the lobby doors until 6 a.m. I came back the next night and the next. I still do my 11 p.m. round. I walk the basement corridor. I note the clipboard count in my notebook. I do not open the cold room door. The count is 1,853 now. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what it's counting. I don't know if the marks on the walls are still there or if they vanished the way they appeared. I don't check. I don't want to know. Some numbers,